Yeah, which they raised so famous and so holy how's it called?
Oh, the Schuldenbremse, the debt
Schuldenbremse,
break, yeah.
exactly, to invest in, some infrastructure, but also in some military, right? And at the same time, those declarations come, and then I think we were talking about before that, I mean, a couple of days ago or yesterday, or when was it, that he said that he wants to make the largest army in Europe.
Yeah.
Which sounds very familiar.
Oh, yeah. I've heard the story before. I didn't like the ending. Merz is an interesting figure in a couple of senses. So the first thing was like what happened right before the election, which was he pushed through an immigration declaration in the Bundestag before the election with the support of the AfD. And that was huge because you're never meant to get the AfD support on these kind of things, right? There's meant to be the cordon sanitaire. You're not meant to work with them. I kind of think that was a little bit of a smart move on his part because he did it before the election. And I think from the CDU perspective, his party's perspective, that was him testing the water of like, how will German public, German media stuff respond if I work with the AfD? Let's do this before the election rather than after the results to kind of, because now is the time when everyone's tracking polling and stuff. We can measure the effects of this quite well. And the effects of it were bad. It basically, I think the line of thinking the CDU who say you should do this is it will be a huge boost to our numbers. It wasn't. And then it also resulted in huge protests. It resulted in a party that, you know, a couple of months prior to this, I would have said is dead, like Die Linke, as like the anti-fascist party. It made it so that the Greens, which do have some anti-fascist bona fides, didn't like eat shit in that election, even though they were a part of the last government. You know, FDP ate shit. SPD got like some of their worst results in history. So that was. It looks like a blunder to a certain extent, but I think it was also like, I'm going to do this before the election, figure out how people respond to it, to know what I'm going to do going forward. Are you aware of the phrase, only Nixon can go to China? It's this idea in politics that like during the Cold War, when America and China kind of like reconciled, it was Nixon who did it, right? It was this right-wing politician. And the idea behind only Nixon can go to China is that only a right-wing person can get away with doing a kind of possibly left-wing thing. Because if a Democrat in the United States went and tried to do rapprochement from China, the press would have been like, commie betrayers, how dare you do this? There's secret reds in the White House, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So we might be getting that with Merz. So like, the debt break, this conservative economic policy of Germany should never spend, it should never invest in itself. Why is everything falling apart? Don't worry about it. We'll never spend is a very conservative economic idea. It was introduced by a CDU government, and trying to reckon with that rule is what brought down the last government, the SPD-led traffic light coalition government. And it's like really funny that they tried to adhere to it and they tried to keep it going and they tried to work around it to spend money in Germany on things like infrastructure. And then they were just like told, no, the courts shut them down kind of thing. And then as soon as the conservative government comes back there, it's like, yeah, Schuldenbremse, that was stupid, wasn't it? Anyway, 500 billion for guns.
Yeah.
Or like if the SPD went and did what's happened recently of like marking the AfD as right-wing extremist, which could be paving the way for like banning them as a party. If the SPD did that, Bild would have run the headline of like, oh, the Stasi is back. They're going to destroy our democratic freedoms because they're all secret communists. CDU comes along and is like, yeah, no, fuck the AfD. Like, actually, they're right-wing extremists. That's the kind of like only Nixon can go to China kind of effect that's happening here.
But it feels like about the Schuldenbremse, it feels like the typical family who father is always telling, no, there's no money for that. Sorry, kids, no money for school, no money for lunch. Yeah. But then the next week he comes with a new motorcycle. And suddenly, yeah, where did you get that from?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it last time as well, of just like this unfortunate situation Germany had gotten itself into, where it was so ideologically committed to maintaining the Schuldenbremse. The idea that you cannot spend and we should only like save and there should be no investment. And it's like, no, that's not really how a government should work. A government should spend, it should invest. Like, we should operate like a business. It's like, yeah, but like a new restaurant will buy like an oven. Like, it will invest in itself. Like, it went into debt, but it needs to do that kind of to like keep going. And then you make the same argument for like public transport. You need to like possibly go into debt to build that, because when it's up and running, it's actually a huge economic benefit, and you need it to make it run. So you can make all those arguments, and now it seems like they have kind of realized that, mostly to do with like weapons, unfortunately. But there's also some...
I mean, there's nothing that works better than fear. And the fear of being invaded, I think, works better.
But it's also, unfortunately, arms industry is like the least productive capital, in the sense that it's all built to be blown up.